Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Charles the Charge 3. You can call me Charles, and if you're new here, please hit the like button, comment, and consider subscribing because I put out Pokemon Unite content daily, and then, just comment what you want to see next. And, I read every comment and I answer every comment, so I'm really trying to grow the channel, so that definitely helps me out. So, let's get straight into the video, guys. Today we have a tier list. So since Blissey came out, we need to put everyone in a tier list so far. And I know this may be early before the meta is like clearly defined, but I think I'm just gonna take an assumption of where the meta is gonna go, and just how it feels right now, being like ultra slash like I'm really close to master, so I'm like an ultra 4, so like playing in that highish elo, right? So how it really feels, right? So first off, we're kicking off the video with Venusaur. I really think he's a top tier contender right now. Where he's at, the buffs have treated him very well, and I think he's in a very good spot. I don't think he's S tier, but I do think he is in a very good spot, and I'll definitely put him in an A tier for a mage attacker. He just feels really great right now, so I think he's definitely pretty prominent. Next we're gonna have Gengar. I would say he's more of a C tier champion. I think this guy is decent for low elo, but once you start climbing up the ranks, you'll start to notice that Gengar really falls off hard, and he's just having a hard time to be able to contend with some of the other picks. And honestly, Gengar doesn't really find a way to fit on a team. Speedsters in the jungle right now are just not that good in the current meta, and then also Gengar in lane is just not good at all, so compared to a lot of other picks that are in lane that you could get. So Gengar goes into the C category. So next we have Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime is kind of the same thing. So given the other support picks in the meta right now, I would say that Mr. Mime is kind of getting overshadowed unless he gets a buff to bring him back into the meta. Now, he's more of like a niche pick. If you spend a lot of time with Mr. Mime and get those combos down right, and get your walls and confusion, your barriers and confusion down every single time, then I could see an argument for you putting Mr. Mime into a B or A tier slot. But for the most general population, most of the time, a lot of people aren't putting in those type of hours in maining Mr. Mime. So you can get rolled when you go up against another A or S tier support and just get tier listed by that. So next, let's move on to the next champion, and the next one we have is Snorlax. The big boy Snorlax himself. Even though he got a nerf, I'm gonna be real with you, he is still insane. He still does his job as a defender, and he does it properly, and he does it the best than anyone out there. And honestly, Snorlax heavy slam, the block is still crazy. It's still, because what makes Snorlax good is the player's positioning and the use of skills timed properly. Getting a good block off, defending Zapdos, getting people off the goal point to let your team score is just absolutely insane with this champion. So I'm gonna have to put Snorlax in S tier. Yes, the nerfs hit him a little bit, and you may feel it a little bit, but honestly, Snorlax is still Snorlax, and Snorlax still does the job pretty well. Moving on to the next champion, Gardevoir. So low to high elo, I wouldn't really recommend playing this champion, and honestly, where do I want to put Gardevoir? Man, do we put her? I don't think she's an S tier, but I'm on the edge of A or B tier for Gardevoir, honestly. Honestly, I'm gonna go A tier, because a good Gardevoir player, if you do play Gardevoir right and play the positioning really well, you will be able to see a lot of success with this champion. you know, the stun went into I forgot the other ability, Psycho Sight or something, Psychic Sight, right? Something like that, right? Where you can cast it 3 times, right? It automatically casts 3 times paired with the stun. You know, it is really something. However, Gardevoir, it just feels in solo queue, if you're not playing in a team environment, it just feels like she's not really too good, you know, to get wrapped up. But if you're playing in a team environment, I think Gardevoir is really good. The only thing that you really need to work on, that I stress with this champion, is position, and that's gonna come down. You're gonna see that same thing show up a lot in compared to these attackers, these mages, because positioning is really important, because that, for them to stay alive longer, allows them to get more DPS longer, so it does a lot of damage. So if you're trading one for one kills as a Gardevoir, well, that's not really good, because you want to stay in the fight as long as you can to get that DPS down. So next on the tier list that we have is going to be Absol, and honestly, Absol is in D tier right now. Now, let me tell you why. Let me tell you my thought process behind this. Why I think Absol is in D tier is because she's really good early game. Really good early game speedster in the jungle right now. She can easily out jungle nearly everyone, and her ganks are ferocious. They're insane, right? But when it gets to the mid to late game, Absol really struggles to find her footing into team fights, and it's really hard for this champion to do anything. So that is why she gets placed in D tier, because of how team fight heavy this game is when it comes to Dreadnoughts, when it comes to Rotom, when it comes to Zapdos. These are the things that can make or break your game. And so ganking early, you can't be such a you can't play solo queue in just a one-dimensional character. Even if you are on a 5-man team, Absol, it just doesn't feel good at all. So next, we're gonna move on to Garchomp. Now, I really like the buffs with Garchomp, but however, I don't think he's quite there of being considered A tier. I think he's still B tier. I think he's better than C tier now, for sure. And I think, you know, again, if you put more time into him, you know, if you really made him, he could be A tier, but I think for most part, he's gonna get tier listed a lot. And honestly, I'm just not a big fan of champions that take a while to wind up to get where they need to be, because you have other champions like this next one that we're talking about right now, Lucario. So this is champions like this makes Garchomp B tier, because why would you pick Garchomp when you have Lucario up, right? Like, Lucario does everything Garchomp wants to do, but at level 3 and level 4, you know, like, he can really scrap, he can really win a lot of trades, he can really jungle well, he can lane well, you know, there's not too much this guy can, you know, that he can go wrong with. So Lucario is an S tier champion and definitely will easily get you to Masters. A lot easier compared to Garchomp. So that is something that you have to take into account with. So Crustle. Moving on to the next champion, we have Crustle. And honestly, with Crustle in the current meta right now, I think he is A tier. And the only reason why, I think with the Slowbro nerfs, I think I kind of favor Crustle a little bit more than Slowbro now. Slowbro was really good for a long time, but with those nerfs and the Crustle buffs, I think Crustle may start having more of a footing into this meta, and we'll start seeing a lot more Crustles. Now, this is just my opinion. I could totally be wrong about Crustle, and he could be more of a B tier, C tier champion. But I really do believe that Crustle players, as long as they use the Rock Tomb properly, as long as they put in the time that it takes to really master this champion, to really master a good Rock Tomb, I think Crustle will really get you pretty far, you know. And he does a lot of work for his team, and the amount of picks that he can make with his Rock Tomb using properly paired with his X Scissor is just insane. You know, this champion is really insane. So next, let's move on to Greninja. Now, even though Greninja got hit on some nerfs, on this last patch here, he's still going to be he's still going to be S tier. Now honestly, Greninja, it's honestly just the meta right now. Greninja, Cinderace in the jungle, still S tier, still really good. You know, you really can't go wrong with any of these attackers in the jungle, and just any of them like on your team, like whether it's Greninja in lane, whether it's Greninja in jungle, like he still does a lot of damage. He's like a Samira from League of Legends, you know, to be able to provide a lot of DPS but also have self peel with his dash, his smoke screen, right? Smoke screen is still good. They just buffed double team, they just buffed water shuriken, even though that they had nerfed smoke screen and surf. Like, it's still good if you still want to run smoke screen and surf. It's like you feel it, don't get me wrong, but it's not that bad. It's not meta breaking for Greninja to fall out of the meta, so I still think Greninja is sitting really pretty here. Next I'm gonna have Talonflame, and I think Talonflame, man, I really think Talonflame is just a C tier champion, and the reason why is like you have decent damage with Talonflame, you have decent gank potential. You know, Talonflame is really decent, but I think that like that's the biggest key word here. It's just that Talonflame is decent. You know, it's just doesn't bring anything spectacular to the table as far as the other speedsters or attackers. Like, I wouldn't see a reason to pick Talonflame over Greninja or Cinderace in this current meta right now, and so that's just the way it is, and that's why Talonflame lands as C tier, more of a niche pick, you know, and just being overshadowed by the bigger picks. Pretty much it. Charizard, I'll say it's B tier. I'll say it's a pretty good B tier because then again, you know, Charizard and jungle, we have Cinderace, we have Greninja, you have Lucario jungle as well, right? So Charizard in the jungle, like, is not really, there's not really a spot for him. No, Charizard in lane, like it's alright, it's decent. And don't get me wrong, Charizard jungle is decent. Like, you can still win with it. I'm not saying you don't have a 0% win rate or anything like that, but I just think, you know, he's just not there to really compete with other picks to be able to really win games hard, to really stomp them, and to really like control the game. And then so let's move on to the tier list. And let's talk about what's his name? Zoroa. So Zoroa here, I also think is another B champion. I think Zoroa is a good speedster. I think he's a good jungler, but I feel like when it comes to mid to late game, I feel like Zoroa just it's hard for him to find his way into a team fight. It's hard for him to like really do much. He's kind of like the Absol effect, but he's a little bit better just because his ulti does, you know, like you can't miss that, right? And he does a big AoE damage. He's good for steals. He's really good for picks, but you know, I really think Absol is really bad. I hate Absol, but I think, you know, Zoroa is more of a B tier champion. You know, like he's a rated coin flip. You know, like it's still gonna be a coin flip with Zoroa, but I think a really well-tuned Zoroa, really good Zoroa player, could win more games than not. But yeah, it's still gonna be a coin flip though. So next we're going to go on to Cinderace, and what more do I have to say? Like, the buffs really didn't affect the nerfs affected Cinderace still, but Cinderace in lane, Cinderace in jungle, you're still getting a lot of raw damage from this champion. It's hard to pass up this champion. It's hard to say that any one of these champions that you would take if they're from any of these tiers from below S. It's hard to reason that Cinderace that you would pick them over Cinderace in jungle or lane. Honestly, like the only one who I may pick from over Cinderace would maybe be Greninja or Lucario, but that's just my preference. But honestly, Cinderace, the amount of damage she provides in her just alone with her ulti is just insane for the team. And so whether you're a 5-man, whether you're at solo queue, Cinderace is going to be a very, very good pick for you. Now, Aldegas. Now, I still think this is a broken champion. The heals, the shields, you know, Cotton Guard, Power Puff, insane. What more do I need to say here? The nerfs did affect Aldegas. You feel the cooldown on her abilities more, but honestly, her Unite move, Aldegas just brings so much to the table. She's just a very stable laner, very consistent player. She makes sustained wars. She really sustains her whole team really, really well. So you know, it's hard to say like Aldegas to never play Aldegas. You know, it's hard to put her in anything below S, honestly. So next we're gonna have Cranberries. Now, I think Cranberries is good as mage, but I don't think he's S tier. I think he's going to be A tier. And you know, yeah, I just think his damage is good and everything like that. He has good CC, good self CC as well, and he has a really good zoning ult. But I just think if you're gonna play an attacker, you know, you have Cinderace, you have Greninja, you also have Ninetales up, and so I just feel like any one of those are like kind of good. So I kind of want to put him more so in the same category with Gardevoir, of how it takes a little bit of time for him to like really wind up and get to that power spike, right? So next I want to do Pikachu. I think Pikachu is just C tier. I think Pikachu really needs a buff to really help him out to like get into these upper class tiers, because even like a Cramorant, even a Gardevoir is just will overshadow the Pikachu really, really fast. And so next we're gonna have Ninetales, right? And so Ninetales is I'm gonna say A tier. Let's say Ninetales is A tier. I don't think she quite makes it onto the S tier. You know, maybe just a small buff will get Ninetales onto S tier, but I think for now Ninetales is in a good spot. I think she's balanced pretty well, and I think she belongs to the A tier, right? Next we have Wigglytuff, and honestly, Wigglytuff is just a one-man army. You know, this is another S tier support. If you don't play Aldegas, I would highly recommend picking up Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is another insane, crazy support with the amount of damage and the amount of CC that she brings to the table. It's really, really good, and her numbers are really good. Her Unite move is really good, really great for team fights. You know, this champion, you know, what more can I say? Wigglytuff is tough. You know, tough to play against. Slowbro. Ever since the nerfs, I don't think Slowbro would ever be an S tier. I think he's just like an A tier defender. It's just, you know, Crystal Slowbro, you know, like these are just A tier defenders. If you're not getting a Snorlax on your team, you're just going with A tier defenders at that point, you know, honestly. Next we have Machamp, and honestly, Machamp, I think he could be A tier. I'm really on the fence about Machamp. I feel like he's either A or B tier right now. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's either A or B tier, and the only reason why I say that is because you have champions like Wigglytuff, and you have champions like the support champions that are really doing their jobs well. It's hard for Machamp to do anything, to get anything done. You would have to be a pretty good seasoned Machamp player to get something done. But I think, you know, Machamp could still fit into the A tier here, and I think he's still a pretty good jungler. When all else fails, you know what? No, I don't know, man. Maybe B tier, but I don't know. We'll go with A tier, and we'll see how Machamp plays out. Because you know, maybe I'm just a little bit biased for Machamp because this is the champion that I used to play a lot when I first got started, and how I see him in the jungle right now, I still think he's like pretty decent as a jungler. You know, it's not the same as a Cinderace or a Greninja jungle, but I still think he's pretty decent. That submission is still pretty good. So you know, I'm just gonna put my boy in A tier, and we'll go with that. And last but not least, we have Blissey. Now, Blissey is S tier. Soft-boiled, helmet hand, just too good. It's just honestly too good. Her Unite move, just really good. And so this is what makes me argue about Machamp being A or B tier, because when you have champions like Blissey, you have champions like Wigglytuff or Aldegas on the enemy side, it's hard to get to a Cinderace with Faith. It's hard to get to a Greninja with either Double Team or Smokescreen. It's hard to get to a Lucario. It's hard to get through a Snorlax. You know, and if you were to draft an S tier team like this, right? All these picks are really, really good for a team. So, you know, that's kind of why I was on the fence so much about putting Machamp in A tier or B tier, is just because how he interacts with other champions in the meta. You know, it's kind of hard. But yeah, that is the tier list, folks, and I hope you did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys thinking down below. Let me know if I got anything wrong or if you changed some things up, because this is just my opinion on the upcoming meta right now. And yeah, what I think so far of where the game is gonna go and where the meta is gonna go. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and comment what you want to see next. Consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel to grow. And until next time, guys, I will see you out on the Pokemon Unite Rift. Alright, peace out, boys. Laters.